Hello there, and welcome to a look through your ears into the life of the man known as Bob Bobson. This is a series called Personal Stories, and obviously it's about my personal life. Let's start with perks first this time. I'll be using Ghost Sleight of Hand Marathon, and I'll be using the Galil with Suppressor and Red Dot, and the Python with Speed Reloader. I'll be using Concussion Grenades, Frag Grenades, and Claymores. So, like I said before, this is part of my personal story series where I just talk about myself, things I've experienced in life, and I know people aren't going to like this video, some people, and I know they hate it whenever they see ghosts, but that's their problem and not mine. So this story is going to be entitled My Dream Car, and just kind of a story from when I was younger, and I'll just kind of get into a little bit of the background of the story. So I guess, when I was younger, I probably wasn't that interested in cars, just playing with them and as toys, but I was never really interested in real cars, I don't think that much, at least not that I can remember. So probably, when I was getting into my younger teenage years, several years before I was actually able to drive, I'm not really sure what happened. My dad was always kind of into cars, and he was a mechanic, and he's had several cool cars. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video real quick and get ready, prepared for a really nice kill streak. I'm going to shut up and let you watch it. And I know the other team probably had a slower connection at this point, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But just sit back and enjoy, and when this streak's over, I'll be back. And there you go. Gets the dogs, and I thought it was really nice. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry, but that's too bad. So anyways, when I got into my younger teenage years, for some reason I just really liked the Chevy Nova, and I just kind of fell in love with it, and I really wanted one. And I almost got one. It wasn't, the really cool late 60s Nova. I'm not sure what year it was, but I didn't end up getting it, and it was going to be several years before I could drive anyways. So, my parents were going to buy it for me, but so I didn't get it. And then, I'm not really sure what happened, but I really started getting more and more into cars, and I started liking cars a lot more. And but for some reason I kind of shied away from the Nova. I don't know, I can't remember what, but I got away from the Nova. I became extremely obsessed, and even today, it's my thing. So I just kind of kept getting, more and more into cars, and more into Mustangs. And when my sister had graduated from high school, my parents helped her buy a new car. They gave her a down payment, and they co-signed on it and everything. And I didn't have an interest in a new car. The new cars weren't interesting, obviously, but I just didn't have any desire to have a new car. I was more into the older cars, especially the 60s to 70s muscle cars, and I would much rather have one of those than a new car. So, I told my parents that I would rather have help getting a Mustang, something from the 60s or early 70s, but preferably, the original or just after. And so my parents were looking, and at the time I was working at a retail store, and I was 16 or 17. I was probably 17, and my parents were looking one day, and they found a 65, I think it was a 65 Mustang. It's hard to remember exactly. I think it was a 65 Mustang coupe with a 289 and a 3-speed manual, but it had like this crazy stupid paint job. It was like metal flaked, and some cars look okay with a metal flake paint job, but it's not for a Mustang. And my dad brought it to my work, and he's like, hey, I'm probably gonna buy this. do you want to test drive it? So I was like, oh yeah, sure. So the person who I was working with let me go on break, and I kind of just test drove it around the parking lot, and man, was that exciting. I'd never driven a V8, or I actually had another Mustang, but that's a story for another time. But it's really fun just driving around the parking lot, and so I went inside under the impression that he was going to buy it, and probably this wasn't the best. He should have checked it out better before he came and showed it to me, because I'm a teenager and teenagers are impatient. I'm still impatient. So, I think people in general are pretty much impatient, and, if they want something, they want it now and they don't want to have to wait for it. And obviously with a used car, it's not a good idea to rush into it. So anyways, my dad ended up not buying it, and, I was disappointed, and he told me that once he had gone through a further inspection of the car, that the bottom chassis and everything was pretty rusty, and he didn't want to buy it based off that, which I'm glad he didn't, because those Mustangs, the floorboards rusted out in them a lot. So then I told him, I was like, okay, well, I still want a Mustang, but I want you guys to shop, and whatever you buy is fine with me. I know I know you know what you're doing, and I would rather not be disappointed like this. I would rather you just pick it out, buy it, and then let me know when you buy it. So they only had a couple thousand to spend, and I think I chipped in about $850 to $1,000 or so. I think it was about $850. I can't remember for sure, because they told me to save up what I could and help put that towards it too. So as I said, I worked in a retail store, and a lot of times I would work till about 10 to 10:30 at night, and then we lived out in the middle of nowhere, so it'd be about a half-hour drive, so I wouldn't get home till about 11 a lot of times. And my parents aren't the kind of people who went out at night, and I just get home one night and there's no lights on, the cars are there, I can't find anyone, and I'm just like, oh, what the heck's going on? They just disappeared, I guess. And I was so confused, and I'm walking around the house, I'm checking every room, and I don't know what happened, but eventually I just go out to the garage, and it's so funny because they're just sitting in there with my Mustang, and I was just so excited. I was like, oh my god. And it's the most exciting moment, probably one of the most exciting moments in my life. And they had got me a 68 coupe, and I would say the 68 is one of my favorite years. It's a little bit better than the 64 through 66, I think, just because it's a little more sporty looking, and I love that car, and I still have it. It's kind of a little bit taken apart right now. I need to do a lot of restoration on it, but I'm gonna close this out with a picture, and let me know what you think of the video. Thanks for watching.